Hey guys, so in this video, I wanted to show you my favorite keyboard shortcuts that I always use in Jupyter Notebooks. So in general, when I code, I would like to use keyboard shortcuts to make my workflow more efficient. So to begin with, let's create a new Jupyter Notebook. So by the way, all the keyboard shortcuts that we will be discussing today will be available in the command palette. And you could access this command palette here on the toolbar. And you could scroll down and you can even search for the type of process that you would like to do. So if you forgot which keyboard shortcut to use, you can always refer to this command palette. And so when we create a new Jupyter Notebook, first you should notice that the cell is currently highlighted in green. So this means that we are in the edit mode. So the edit mode means that we can type code within these cells. So for example, let's do print hello world. To run a code, we press Shift Enter. And that would execute the cell that we are currently in. And also at the same time, by pressing Shift Enter, it also creates a new cell right after the cell that we have just ran. So currently the new cell is in edit mode because it is highlighted in green. So if we want to change to command mode, all we need to do is press escape in our keyboard. If we are using the mouse, to move into edit mode, all we need to do is press within the cell. But if we want to move to the command mode with our mouse, all we need to do is click on the space right before the cell. So if we are using our keyboard, we press enter to go into edit mode and we press escape to go into command mode. So just notice that if you are in command mode, the cell will be highlighted in blue, while if you're in edit mode, the cell will be highlighted in green. So while we are in edit mode, we can use the arrow keys to move across the code. However, if we want to move across cells, so meaning if we want to move from one cell to the other, we can use the arrow keys to move up and down between the cells. So the next keyboard shortcut that I wanted to show you is how to create a new cell right after the current cell that we have active at the moment. So if I press B, while in command mode, so make sure that the cell is highlighted in blue. So if you press B in your keyboard, we would be creating a new cell right below the current cell that is highlighted. So that's B for below. Now, if we want to create a cell before or above the current cell that is highlighted, so again, make sure first that you are in command mode. So if you press A in your keyboard, then it will create a new cell above the current cell that is currently highlighted. So again, if we want to move across the cells, up and down the cells, we can use the keyboard. And if we want to go modify the cell, we press enter. And we can use our arrow keys to go throughout the code. So again, I've pressed escape, so we are in command mode. The next keyboard shortcut that I wanted to show you is X. Pressing X in your keyboard would delete the cell that is currently highlighted. So I'm just pressing X right now and I've deleted all the excess cells that we have created. One of the keyboard shortcuts that I always use is creating headers within my code. So headers is very useful when you're working with a very big code and you want to separate or name blocks of code so that it will be easier for you or for the user to go through the code. So let us first create a cell above by pressing A on our keyboard. And let's press enter to go into edit mode. So if I type here header 1, and then to make this a header, first we go to command mode, so press escape. And then now, while in command mode, press 1. So this will convert the text into a header. And then now if you run using shift enter, then you would see now the cell is formatted as a header. It's no longer a code. So this is a header 1. So meaning this is the biggest type of font that will be used in terms of headers. So let me create another header, but this time let's make it header 2 size. So I've pressed number 2 while in command mode, and let me run it again using Shift Enter. So you could see header 1 is slightly bigger than header 2. And again, if I create a new cell above by pressing A, and then let's modify by pressing Enter. And let's say we want to create header 3. And while on command mode, I would press number 3 on the keyboard and then run it using Shift Enter. And so you could see the difference between the sizes of the headers that we have just created. So again, this is useful if you want your code to be readable. You could add comments, you could add descriptions, headers of how your code flows. So it's easier for you to read the logic of the code. So now if we wanted to modify the text within the header, so if we wanted to change the text within the header, all we need to do is while in command mode, we press Y. And by pressing Y, we will convert the header into text. And to change the text, then we will just go into edit mode by pressing Enter. Now we can amend the text in our header. And again, if we want to put it back into header 1 formatting, then we just press Escape to go to command mode and then press 1 and then press Shift Enter to again convert the cell into a header format. So we have different sizes of headers. And if we go to this command palette button here, you could see this is all the available header sizes that is available to us. So we have a total of 6 options for the header sizes. Let's create header 4 and then format it to be number 4, and then header 5 and then format it to header 5, and finally header 6. So you can see now that we have a total of 6 types of headers. However, as you could see, header 4, 5, and 6 are almost the same. So usually I would just go for header 4 as the smallest header that I will be using in my code. So the next keyboard shortcut that I wanted to show you is using a combination of Shift and arrow keys to highlight multiple cells all at once. So when I do this, I am holding down the Shift, and then I would press the arrow keys up. So as long as I'm holding the Shift while pressing the arrow key, we would be selecting multiple cells all at once. And so what we could do here is we could copy the cells and then paste it. So the keyboard shortcut to copy is C. And what we could do is paste it either below or above the current highlighted cell. So I moved here to the bottom to show you that if we press V, then we have pasted the copied cells at the bottom of the highlighted cell. However, if we want to paste the cells that we have copied above the current highlighted cell, what we could do is press Shift V. So as you can see, we have now pasted these 3 cells above the current highlighted cell. So let me just clean this up, pressing X to delete these excess cells. So now we would move on to a bigger code which I've created previously. So I could show you how I would use the keyboard shortcuts to go through and modify the cells. So I'm just opening these keyboard shortcuts notebook that I've created previously. So you can see that this code is composed of multiple cells, and each cell I have inputted a line of code. This is what's nice about Jupyter Notebooks, is that you can run a cell separately without having to run the rest of the cells. So if we want to merge two cells together so that we don't need to run these cells separately, what we could do is highlight two cells by going to the command mode and pressing shift and then the arrow key down. So this would highlight both cells. And to merge these two cells, all we need to do is press shift M. So now we have the two cells combined into one. So if we run this code by pressing shift enter, each line of code will be ran recursively. So just make sure that when you are merging, you will press shift M, because if you forget to press shift and just press M, what will happen is that the cell will be in a markdown mode. So meaning it will be sort of like a header, but it will be just text that you won't be able to modify. So let me show you how that would look like. So we are in command mode. If I press just M, you can see that now that the cell is in markdown mode. So if I press shift enter, this would be a text, sort of like a note that you would not be able to modify as code. So again, if we want to convert this back to text, all we need to do is press Y. And now the cell is now back into a code. So if we want to split this code into two separate cells, all we need to do is press Ctrl Shift and then the minus key. So that will bring the line of code into a new separate cell. So now I've run the code and now we scroll through different pages using our mouse wheel. So to do that using the keyboard, all you need to do is press Spacebar. And pressing Spacebar would scroll you down. And to scroll up, you would press shift spacebar. So sometimes if we're working with really huge code, we want to maybe see the line numbers in each code. To toggle the line numbers, we would press L while in command mode on that specific cell that is currently highlighted. But if we want to remove the line number, all we need to do is again press L. But if we want to toggle the line numbers across all cells in our code, the keyboard shortcut for that is, while in command mode, press shift L. And as you can see now, we have showed all the line numbers in all of the cells in our code. And again, to remove that, all we need to do is again press shift L. So the next shortcut I wanted to show you is how to toggle the output view of each cell. So this cell, for example, has shown us a shorter version of the resulting data frame that we have just created. If we want to hide this output that we have just created, we can press while in command mode letter O. So if I press O again, that will show the output again. So this would be useful for code that is quite long, and say if you wanted to just read through the code that you have created, you can simply hide the output temporarily by pressing O. Again, make sure you're in command mode, because if you are in edit mode and you press O, you would simply modify your code. So make sure you are in command mode when using these keyboard shortcuts. So the final keyboard shortcut that I wanted to show you is the find and replace option. So if we want to find and replace a specific word on a specific cell, first we need to select that cell and then press F to toggle the find and replace window. So here, let's say we want to change df to become another variable. So we just input the variable that we want to change, or the text that we want to change, and we could type the replacement text that we want to replace it with. So you could see here that there is one match and it's only looking at that specific cell. So because you could see that there are other dfs in our code. However, with this setup, we are only finding and replacing text within the specific cell. So if we press replace all, it will only replace the df to data frame for this specific cell. So let's try to run that. So as you could see, the other DFs in our code have not been replaced. So let's say that we want to find and replace all the other instances of DFs from the other cell. So to do that, again, I would press F while in command mode and input the string that you want to replace. And again, let's say we want to replace it with data frame. So to find and replace a string across all the other cells, all we need to do is press this arrow up and down button, which is, as you can see, replace in all cells. And you could see now that we have 8 matches, and you could review what are the specific locations that the find and replace option will modify. So if we press replace all, then you could see that all instances of DF have now been replaced with data frame. So if you want to replace just specific cells with find and replace, all you could do is again highlight multiple cells by pressing shift and then the arrow keys, and again press F and then input the string that you want to replace. And then you could see that there are only 3 matches based on the cells that we have highlighted. So now we have only replaced these specific cells and have kept the remaining as is. So we could replicate again what we have done on the previous cells. So let's say we want to replace data frame with DF. I've highlighted the specific cells that I wanted to look for the specific string. And now we have 6 matches. And if we select replace all, then all of the matches only within these cells will now be converted. So that is it for this video. If you found it useful, please don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. And watch out for my next videos where I would show you how to use the pandas library to code in Python to do data analysis. I'll see you then.